racing towards third. Are they going to send him? Here he comes. PCA to the plate. And wow! Hey! Inside the park home run. Pete Crow.
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Baseball Buddies with Pat and Jeff. I am Pat, that is Jeff. We are buddies who like baseball, and we are back with another installment of spring training. Boy, I'll tell you what, Jeff, I wanted to launch this podcast at the beginning of spring training. I was like, when pitchers and catchers report, we will be there to fill everybody in on everything that's happening. And we are 6 episodes in now, and I feel like this thing is never going to end. We're never going to get to the regular season. I know it's coming soon, but I am losing my mind in the meantime. I'm ready to get to the regular season. We still have a decent amount to talk about this week, World Baseball Classic. But before we get to any of that, let me backtrack a little bit. How are you? You good?
I'm all right because the next time after this episode, the next time there's an episode next week, there will have been a major league real game that counted baseball game played. That's great. That's so great. I don't know why we're opening how we're opening, but that's how we're opening. And so
you have a criticism for my opening literally every week.
No. I'm talking about the MLB season. I feel like 2 teams that are matching up is like, I don't know. Can we get like a Yankees Red Sox game or something? Like, the NFL is like gonna pick whatever there was a thing that came out. The NFL is going to start the season on a Wednesday for some fucking reason this next upcoming year. And it's like, that matchup is going to be between 2 giants and make the opening day like such a thing. And I don't know, it's not really how the MLB is rocking. I'm having a weird day though, because for work, I'm doing this thing where I'm, doing like some logistical stuff or whatever. And so I'm talking to one of the people who like in this situation is above me on the food chain, right? But I don't work for this person. Got me? So I'm trying to talk in an email while we're talking about the other people without them seeing the email, right? And the worst thing didn't happen, which is that I put the conversation for everybody to see, but this other thing happened because of this AI thing. An email that I sent was essentially like, I can do this. That was my goal of the email, is I can do this. And the email that got sent was, I cannot understand why you would want me to do this. And I was like, wait a minute. Because there was no response, so I checked back in an hour or something like that. I'm like, why is this, this is like a time-sensitive thing. And then I go and look back at the email, I'm like, oh my God, this guy thinks that I just big dogged him from below. So then I send the email back. I'm like, I don't know why it did that, but this is what I meant to say. And then still haven't heard back from this person. So I'm like, oh man, I am not in position to lose my job right now. So I need this person to understand the beginning stages that we're in with AI currently right now, which I hate. And this is one of the reasons I don't even use it on emails. I just type my emails, and I must have pushed a button.
Yeah.
It said here, just say this thing.
I had to turn it off the other day because something turned on in my Gmail maybe a week ago. And I'm not hyperbolizing when I say this was ruining my life.
Yeah.
This was ruining my life. Every time I tried to send an email, it started underlining every word.
Right? In purple?
Yeah, the little dot under. And look, I'm fine. If I misspell a word, by all means, let me know.
Yeah, get that red pen out. I love it.
If I have a grammatical error that is I change from past to present tense, let me know. But if you're going to underline every complete sentence and suggest ways to eliminate 2 words to make it shorter, I'm not trying to big dick anyone here. I'm not trying to flex. I have made my living as a professional writer for the last 4 years. I am not William Shakespeare. I am not pretending to be elite in the field, but I understand the basics of sentence structure and how to convey a message. I am relatively articulate, at least to the point where I don't need dramatic interference from machinery to get me to a point of competence. And every single one, they're like, are you sure you want to use 7 words in that sentence when you could get it done in 6?
Yeah.
I had to turn it off. And the only way to turn that off, by the way, is to turn off all AI features across the board. And I was like, good, done, go away, Gemini, fuck off.
I'm gonna have to do that too, obviously now, because the thing that it was doing to my email, it's like same thing, and the reason it wants to do that is it is like you're being awfully polite here. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I see you're trying to be a nice guy. Would you like to just say that curt and in 2 words? And I'm like, dude, like, no, I want to like. These people get these emails all day. I want to be, it was a pleasant experience. I want to be a human being. And it's like, just say that, you want them to send you your bio and the headshot or whatever. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. It's always trying to suck all the soul out of us. Anyway.
On the plus side, most people are going to lose their jobs because they are replaced by AI. What better way for you to get ahead of it and be like, look, you can fire me for this, but you'll be replacing me with the thing that actually made the error in the first place.
100%. This is a great example of how AI is likely messing up things for us all across everywheres. So
did I tell you what happened? What ChatGPT said to me about the mass shooter in Austin a couple weeks ago?
Nope.
So I've used ChatGPT. I use it sparingly, but I used it a lot for the launch of the Barker Ball channel. To ask questions about. I've never launched a YouTube channel before, right? And I just wanted to, cross my T's and dot my I's, so to speak. In the meantime, I got hired for another job that I've been doing on the side, researching certain things and preparing sort of information packets and everything like that. And one of the first ones I had to do was there was a mass shooting, unfortunately, in Austin, Texas, a couple weeks ago, and I had to just do like a page-long write-up on that. And the shooter was of, it was a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to botch it now. I want to say Sudanese descent. I could be wrong about that. But he had a name that was difficult to pronounce phonetically, so I wanted to make sure I got the right pronunciation of the name. So I watched like 4 different videos from news reports. I heard people pronounce it different ways. I decided to ask ChatGPT. I figured maybe they would know. So I put the name in. Now, keep in mind, this guy, the night before, had committed a mass shooting. Like, it was all over the news, his name. So I put his name in there. I said, can you give me the phonetic spelling of this name, the pronunciation? It gave me one. I don't know if it was accurate or not, but then ChatGPT can never just give you the answer. It has to keep going and offer you something else. And at the end, because its brain is full of baseball YouTube-related questions, at the end, and let's say the guy's name was Ndigaba Dion. It was something like that. It said, I assume with this question you are referring to Phillies prospect Ndigaba Dion. If you need more information on his spring training thus far, just let me know.
What?
There's not one player anywhere near the Phillies organization with a name anything like that. It just knows that I ask about baseball sometimes. And it's like, well, surely you can't be interested in more than one thing. Everything you ask must be baseball related, so we'll just assume. It's crazy.
I hate that.
Oh, it's so bad.
I hate that. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. We can't go down this road too far, though, because then the whole episode will be about this.
Yes. Let's get off it. Let's get off it. Let's get into some baseball. Seems like a good place to start. ChatGPT told me I should start talking about baseball more on the baseball podcast, so we're just gonna do it.
And mass shootings. So
yes, exactly.
Hit or miss.
So as we sit here tonight recording this, it is the night after the World Baseball Classic championship round, where Team USA came up short, falling 3-2 to Venezuela. At the time we recorded last, Team USA was heading out of pool play, barely surviving that, heading into championship round play. They make it all the way to the finals. We spent a lot of time along the way criticizing Team USA, Mark DeRosa, the attitude of the players, the overall vibe around the team. We spent a lot of time along the way praising some of the, Latin countries, the Dominican Republic. Venezuela certainly checks that box. USA defeats the Dominican Republic in the semifinals 2-1 before losing to Venezuela 3-2 in the finals. Venezuela ran through Japan, tournament surprise Italy, and the United States en route to winning the whole thing for the first time in WBC history. Jeff, now that this thing is over, I feel like every WBC I learn one new thing, I come away with one new perspective. Having seen the whole tournament and specifically that championship game, what did you learn from watching the WBC this year?
I feel like this is an answer that I think I would give or could give every single time the World Baseball Classic comes around. The World Baseball Classic is a great reminder that this game is fun. It is super fun, and you can have fun playing it. And I think that my main takeaway from this is they have done a lot. We spent part of last podcast actually giving flowers to Rob Manfred about some of the changes he's instituted within the game of baseball, speeding it up. You know, this ABS thing seems like it's going to work out pretty well. Banning the shift has had an incredible result. Making the bases bigger, doing the pitch clocks so there's more base stealing, things of that nature that were leaving the game that now have come back and made it a more enjoyable viewing experience. There is all of that. But where baseball and most sports leagues do a really terrible job is letting it be fun. And I think that you got to see, because it wasn't just, it seems like we're always talking about the Latin countries, but like, man, you're telling me Team Italy didn't have a fucking blast? You know what I mean? Like leaning in, making espressos, Team Great Britain or whatever with this dumb hat and all that stuff. Like every team was having a blast, save for one. And that is just what I would love to see more throughout the game. And I don't know how it happens. Really, the only way we see it seep out a little bit is when a guy hits a double and then he does whatever secret dance they do when they're on second base that they've decided to do, or maybe like a handshake or something in the dugout. But like, that's it, you know, outside of when there's like a walk-off or a big, you know, sort of hit and, you know, it's a big playoff moment or something, you don't get to see the joy, and the joy is probably what's missing and makes it such a slog to go through 162. And so I don't know, I wish more players, I wish more organizations would have an interest in capturing that fun. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I do think it's difficult. You're comparing a tournament that's distilled down into 2 weeks to something that, you know, lasts 6 months.
You're right. That's true.
And I do think there's a decent amount of joy that is now displayed in the MLB playoffs that maybe was not there in previous years. And I do think we have to give some credit to baseball as a whole for ditching this attitude of like, oh, if you look at your home run too long, you catch the next one in the ear. I think for the most part they have gotten away from that, which is good.
And what's great for them is almost all the people that would condone that behavior are dead now. So they're dying every year. Every year, those people are dying more and more, and eventually they just won't be around.
That's true. They will go extinct, and we should all be grateful for that. Here's what I would say about the WBC, and I want to start by maybe walking back. I don't want to walk back my American criticism entirely, but what I want to say is I think it's really hard to nail these guys down on they are not having fun. They seemed like they weren't having fun. But I think when you go in expecting to win and expecting to be the best and favored to win, and you're kind of in a tough position where it's like if you're winning, it looks like you're just doing what you were supposed to do. And if you're losing, you get tight and tense. At the moments they did succeed, they were kind of having fun. It's just America, the baseball team, and America, the country, both have kind of this like aura about them where they are the evil empire a little bit. When you are the favorite and you are the quote unquote bad guy, it's really hard to come off as likable. Because I was thinking about it and I'm like, well, if they were beating the dog shit out of, Canada or Italy or whoever, and they were flipping the bats and doing the Dominican Venezuelan thing, if they were doing the exact same thing, for some reason it would just come off as kind of dickheaded coming from them. Is that like if Alex Bregman started carrying himself like Fernando Tatis tomorrow? I think we'd all be like, "What a fucking asshole."
I'll say this about the American team. Bryce Harper hit that homer in the championship game. That 2-run homer unleashed a monumental bat flip. Trots around the bases and then starts like looking at the camera and he's pointing at the flag. He gives a salute when he gets to third base. And I couldn't help but look at that and be like, man, all the time. I want that all the time. Like, that's your team identity. Why didn't we just why not just lean into that? I was talking about the cowboy stuff for like whatever like weird thing you could do that's like super American in the dugout. You could be a cocky little shit too, man. That's pretty fucking American. And they didn't really do that. All they did, the other thing they did that just didn't make any sense, and it never does, is they made it all about the troops. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't support the troops, but I'm saying going in to play a silly baseball tournament, you maybe shouldn't being like, in your head, maybe shouldn't be like, I'm winning this for Brigadier General so-and-so. Like, right. You're going in and you're like, you want to win because you're the best team and you're from fucking America. It is like, credit to Venezuela. It's embarrassing that they lost that game. There is one team. There's one player on Venezuela that would have made the United States team. There's one. There is a single player on the entire team that would have made the United States roster. One.
Right.
Okay. It's embarrassing.
I get you. The military thing, I just have to interject and say this. It's so much more tone deaf and hilarious because we just concluded an unauthorized invasion of the country that we're playing in the championship. We kidnapped their leader and then held a press conference like we're stealing their oil. And now it's like, it's really hard to be the underdog in that game.
Yeah.
The troop thing always gets, but that's kind of like the overall issue that I have is that like the troops and the flag and all of that is like, it's all conflated. Like when Harper points to the American flag, I don't know about you, but in my lifetime, the flag has been co-opted by politics. It has become a political symbol. And the idea of someone being a patriot reflects their, political beliefs as opposed to like, you could be proud to be from this country because you're like, oh, I love the natural beauty of, the Rocky Mountains, and I love the movies that we produce here, and I love, the culture of New Orleans. There's so many great things this country has to offer, but instead I feel like the flag is synonymous with I love the troops and I love the guns and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like even if they're not leaning into the troop thing, the moment they start saluting and pointing to the flag, that's how it plays in my head.
I guess I understand what you're saying there, but then make it like a few years ago came the because of Kaepernick came the stick to sports thing, right? And they did not do that. Right. So I'm like, you they went out there and they spoke and they talked like they like they talked like they were towing the line that everybody wanted them to tow, right? But in doing it how they did it, they made it political themselves. And it's like, why don't you guys just like go to the press and like have fun, go out there and like have a blast? And then when like somebody sticks a microphone in your face and you're like, oh boy, you're awfully proud of that flag, or you're awfully, oh, the salute and blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, look, we're 25 stupid ass baseball players. Like, we're just having a fucking time of our lives out here having fun. And that's hard to do, I understand, but it's just like whatever this is, and it's hard to blame the roster. I mean, except I blame the roster for them losing, because like you just cannot lose when you're that talented. I'm sorry, you can't. And but the most of the blame has got to go to Mark DeRosa, because like he set the tone for this team. He didn't know what he was doing. They should have won in spite of him. They should have won anyway. But I mean, like, having the weird Bin Laden killer guy in to yell at them and like doing all this other stuff, it's like he made all those decisions, and he like probably was a part of
we don't know that he booked the Bin Laden guy. We don't know that.
He's the manager of the team.
The manager is in charge of booking that sort of thing?
Yes, of course. You know what they should have done? You know what? You know who would have showed up and would have talked to them for sure? Marshawn Lynch. That's who should have talked to them.
That would have been nice.
That's who should have showed up and talked to them.
I don't think anyone talked to them before the semifinals or finals. I think they wasted Bin Laden dude on the quarterfinals against Canada. And then they had nobody prepared.
They talked to Bin Laden guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Well, again, that's a managerial mistake, Pat. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I understand that an inept manager should not have cut the knees off of this team, but it did a little.
DeRosa said he's all in for the next one.
No, he's not.
If his phone rings, I have a feeling it's not going to ring. I think at the end of a tournament like this, you'd usually be asking yourself about the U.S. I think in previous years we've lamented the fact that the best players haven't wanted to play. And then in 2023, it felt like the best offensive players decided to play. And then this year, they really had much better pitching than they've had in the past. So I really, even with Scooble only making one start, I feel like having Skeens and Logan Webb.
Their bullpen was ridiculous too. Like Griffin Jackson.
The bullpen was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, there were previous years where, like, you know, it was like R.A. Dickey and 3-4 starters. Or, you know, like Adam Wainwright and a bunch of, like, quadruple A guys. Like, this was the most talented squad they've ever had. The issues that I see are, number one, even if they had figured out the thing about how to be likable, even if they hadn't committed so many self-inflicted wounds in that area, the fact is, the players didn't deliver on the field. And this actually felt very similar to being a Phillies fan. A friend of mine commented, and they were exactly right, Team USA was the super Phillies. They're all white. They're all, you know, they're expected to win and everything like that. And then when it comes down to it, they're all swinging for the fence, and outside of a couple of, like, solo home runs, they're getting shut down repeatedly. The pitching is good, but the offense doesn't come up big in the biggest times, which does feel like it's been the October experience for the Phillies over the last, 3 years. Even if they had figured out all the other stuff, look, winning cures all. If they had been hitting the shit out of the ball, I guarantee you this team would have felt a lot more fun. But they weren't. They were the favorites in every game, and they came up small. Even when they won, it's like, it was like watching the 96 Dream Team in basketball, where it's like, you guys only beat Angola by 12? You know what I mean? Like, when you go into the quarterfinals against Canada and you have to hang on to win 5-3 or whatever the final was, people are going to look at your team as not playing up to its potential. And so many of the guys did not play up to their potential in this thing. Bryce Harper didn't until the last game. He had a huge last game. One of the only guys who was hitting the whole time was Gunnar Henderson. Aaron Judge was a massive disappointment, I feel like, kind of throughout the thing. You know, a small sample size and all that. Ultimately, like, these guys, Cal Raleigh coming off a 60 home run season, was like borderline unplayable. It just wasn't a great look for the US. That being said, man, salute to Venezuela. Like, you could see how much it meant to them, especially Miguel Cabrera played in the first 5 WBCs in a row. The only guy to do that retires, now joins Venezuela as a coach. He was crying when they won. All those guys were crying, man. It was nice to see. It was genuinely a really happy moment.
Yeah, and the road that they took to get there, right? They beat Japan, Italy, and the US. Like I know you hear Italy and you kind of roll your eyes, but Italy was a good team. Like, they proved that throughout the thing. Japan, defending champ, and then the US, who was very much supposed to win this thing and should have won this thing. Like, what an all-time run for that team. And like, there's a couple like really, really outstanding players, and they had the benefit of like being one of the teams where it's like, it may not be a star at every position like the United States, but like yesterday when you're like watching Eduardo Rodriguez, you're like, I know who you are. I know who you are. Or like Michael Franco, I know who you are. Andres Jimenez, I saw you in the World Series last year. I know exactly who you are. Like, Ronald Acuna is the only real superstar on that squad. While you're Abreu, the guy that hit the Titanic home run last night and hit a couple for them. So it was like all major league guys. But it wasn't like a team of like superstars. So what a run, dude. Like, they had to beat everybody that was I mean, didn't they lose to the DR in the last?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The last game of pool play.
See that? Oh man, that rematch would have been something, but we didn't get it.
No, I'll tell you what, the thing that really stood out to me watching the last 2 Venezuela games was, I can't believe that Major League Baseball has come to a point where it's such a copycat league and every single person is going to be like, no, according to our analytics, the guy with 3 batting titles stinks and we can't use him. He's not a good baseball player. I watched Luis Ariz the last couple games. That dude is a good baseball player. And in an era where everybody has just accepted, you know, if you're a good hitter, you get to strike out 150 times a year, and he is this weird Tony Gwynn style throwback player, it's crazy to me that he sat on the open market for as long as he did and then signed for peanuts with the Giants this offseason. I can't believe that not one team was willing to think outside the box and be like, this guy could be an asset to our team. A guy who's going to hit 330, we could use that.
You know what's funny about Luis Ariz is, like, I feel like if you dumped him in the 80s, like, he wouldn't play, like, he wouldn't be good enough to play. But because he has the very specific skill set that they had in the 80s and nobody else thought to do that nowadays, it's like super effective. Like, just like it's just like this interesting thing with him where it's like, yeah, like, he wasn't that unique if back then, but now he's like super unique because he only strikes out 5% of the time. And that's like a skill that basically nobody has in the entire game. So he's such a fascinating player. And like, in a 1-game situation, guys like that are so important because the whole game defensively is based on strikeouts. And a guy like that puts pressure on your defense and your pitcher because he's going to fall off a ton of pitches. He's going to put the ball in play, and then you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we saw that plenty with guys like Ernie Clement last year in the World Series. So yeah, I don't know why people would watch that particular World Series and who succeeded in it and then not want to pick up a guy like Luis Ariz.
The last thought I have on the WBC, because I kind of started on the thought earlier and then I got sidetracked, but usually at this point you'd be like, well, what does America have to do next year? I don't think there's any additional recruiting efforts that have to be made. I think the biggest players are bought into this thing now and they want to do it. I think what needs to happen now is major league managers have to be a little bit more giving in terms of the pitchers. When I hear DeRosa last night get asked, why didn't you bring in Mason Miller in the 9th inning of a tie game? Instead, you went to Garrett Whitlock. And he said, well, we were honoring the Padres' wishes. They said he was okay to pitch in a save situation, but didn't want him in a non-save situation. That's bullshit, man. I understand within reason. I understand if you got a pitcher coming off of like Tommy John or something like that and you're trying to take care of. If you're going to put these guardrails on players, and we saw it a little bit with the Scooble one start thing, although I believe that was him all along. If you're the Padres and you're telling me that Mason Miller can pitch in the ninth inning of a 3-2 game, but not a 2-2 game, I almost don't even want the guy on the team at all. The number of roster changes that they had to make, and some of those they fucked up in the first place by being like, hey, Kershaw, you want to pitch? And he's like, I've just been drinking beer for the last 4 months. I guess I could try it. And then they saw him throw like one spring training game. They were like, oh my God, no. But they swapped out like 4 players between. The other teams didn't swap out anybody. They were just going with the rosters they had. I felt like America had to do way more kind of like jumping through hoops to appease the managers of these teams and everything like that. And I didn't hear one story from any of outside of like the Dodgers didn't really want Ohtani pitching. I didn't hear any story from anybody else about like, oh, they were limited on what they could get out of their pitchers.
The Cubs had the same suggestion for Daniel Palencia, and it just happened to be the save situation came up.
Okay, well, I don't like it on either side.
I don't either. I don't like to be clear. I don't either. And it did seem much more stringent, and that's probably because of the level of pitcher that they had on the U.S. That like it was like much like everybody was a little stingier with their innings, and it just feels like it almost had to be like it. You notice it more with the U.S. because like they're better players. You know what I mean? Like that.
Of course, look, the bottom line is if a team of 9 of the best offensive players in baseball had been able to score more than 2 runs, this would be a non-issue. So
yeah, and it's not like they pitched horribly. Like McLean was fine. The bullpen up until Whitlock was lockdown. It was great. And it just, ended up how it ended up. So well.
What are you gonna do? What are you going to do? Last question before we get off WBC, and then I'm gonna switch gears here. But U.S. versus Dominican Republic semifinals ended in a terrible strike 3 call, 4 to 6 inches below the zone. Automated ball strikes was not in line for the tournament. Does this change your outlook? I don't know if we did talk about ABS. Where are you at with ABS right now? And do you wish it had been in play for the tournament here?
I'm going to have to I want to see the full season of ABS. I think it's fine so long as it doesn't slow the game down. I do think it adds another aspect for the fans to get into it. It would have been cool if it was in that situation, and it's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. But look, man, the Dominican Republic was the one team that when they played the US and you would just see how the difference between a team that's having fun and a team that's not. That was the time I was oh, they're going to kick the shit out of the United States in this game. Did not happen like that at all. Very tight game. They could not solve any of the pitchers on the US, and that lineup is about as stacked as the United States lineup. Probably not as, but close. And
right there.
So now, because that one call isn't changing how I feel about that. They also needed to perform and did not. And so, yeah, it's I wish it was in play for 1,000 other calls in my lifetime, but it wasn't.
That's a good point too. And I don't think that they can just look at that and blame that and use that as a scapegoat, because again, you scored 1 run in the most important game, and you gotta own that, right? Ultimately, the failings of both the Dominican Republic and the United States go on the offenses going cold at the wrong times.
Yeah, man.
Except for
just stop making us look like fucking nerds, America, USA. Or if you're going to do it, win the thing handily. Jesus Christ. That's your 2 options.
Fair enough. Well, listen, it wasn't the best week for everybody from Venezuela. Miguel Rojas, World Series hero Miguel Rojas, entering his final season in Major League Baseball. Boy, what a great time it should be to be him. Coming off of back-to-back championships, he hits, the game-tying homer in Game 7 last year, the biggest moment of his life. And now he's watching Venezuela, fight their way to their first ever WBC championship. And in the middle of it, he gets a little startle out of nowhere on Monday as Evan Drellich of The Atlantic reports that he has been suspended 80 games for testing positive for PEDs. Drellich meant Johan Rojas of the Philadelphia Phillies, an outfielder. Now, Drellich didn't accidentally type Miguel instead of Johan. He said infielder Miguel Rojas of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He just completely botched all the details. He was, hip to his mistake, and he took it down. And he tweeted another one, and he's like, correction from the previous tweet, it was Johan Rojas. But there was no apology made. Miguel Rojas the next day went on Chris Rose's podcast and talked about how this really affected him and how he thinks it's crazy that the guy didn't apologize. And then today, Evan Drellich came out and did apologize. This was all over my timeline today, and I was a little bit surprised by it. And I wanted to get your opinion. Miguel Rojas being upset about this. And, you click on the comments, too, because you want to see the voice of just, the consensus of the people. The people are, they're like, you should sue him for defamation. People feel very strongly about this. Where are you at with this? Is this a big deal, or are we making a whole big deal out of nothing?
Look, this is a trade-off. This is the trade-off, right? You want your sports news immediately. You want to find out a couple seconds before who the Toronto Raptors are going to fucking select in the NBA draft. You want to know exactly when the Max Crosby trade happens and the second that it falls apart a couple days later. Stuff like this is going to happen, man. This is what happens. Number one, I'll say this. Guy should have apologized immediately. We're living in a weird societal thing where, apologizing is some sort of weakness thing. I personally value it in folks that I associate with. I think it's a sign of strength. And so the guy should have apologized immediately, but And it's tough for Miguel Rojas because it's that's not even a guy you ever think about until he has to do something in the playoffs like he did. You don't think about him all season. And then he just pops up. Or one time somebody will go interview him midway through the season and be like, oh, fuck, I love Miggy or whatever that, you know what I mean? You'll forget that he's on the team. He won't really play. It is what it is. But this is the price we pay, man. This is you want Twitter or X or whatever it is. You want quick access to all the news. People are going to fuck up. It's a great lesson. People should learn that you should just wait a second on all sides. He should have waited a second. And then when the people read it and, they just took it as they should have waited a second. To see if it was confirmed by any of the other millions of baseball reporters that are out there. So, man, it's just to me, yeah, it's much ado about nothing because we made this deal with the devil years ago.
Glad you said that because very rarely on this podcast do you and I disagree. And boy, it's fun when we do. And frankly, it makes for a better podcast. You kind of brought it back at the end there, and I think I agree with your point at the end where it's yes, we should all take a beat. But I am not willing to let any reporter off the hook by saying, well, this is the cost of doing business in this instantaneous information era. Number one, with this case specifically, Johan Rojas has been linked to PEDs for weeks now. Everybody knew this was coming. It was the official handing down of the 80 games of the suspension that I guess constituted news. This wasn't breaking came out of nowhere. Everybody's known it was Johan Rojas. as a Phillies fan, we knew 2 weeks ago. So this isn't like this just came out of left field and he panicked and he tweeted too fast. Even if he had, though, I think that it's extra egregious for the reason I just said, but let's say it was breaking news and he messed it up. Perhaps it is because of the situation. Perhaps it is because of this instantaneous, we need to have it out there as soon as possible. But that is the game that you're playing. And if you get it wrong, that's still on you. Those are the rules. And especially when you are saying something that actually is an indictment of a player's character, like you could say taking PEDs is, this isn't exactly arson judge to the Giants. You didn't get the deal wrong. That one was just embarrassing. This is you actually came out and said something that all of a sudden Rojas's phone is blowing up with people being like, yo, you took steroid? Like, it actually is damaging to the other person. And I don't think any of these reporters should have the get out of jail free card of like, I don't know, you guys created this society. I don't have to be accurate anymore. I don't buy that.
I don't know, man. Like, for me, like, he took it down. He corrected it. I understand it took him too long to apologize. There's no defense for that. He should have just apologized immediately and would have been fine. But like, that's how it works. Like somebody says, it's like, oh shit, we just talked about up front where AI made me say some shit that I didn't say to somebody else. And then I said, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. That's not at all what I said or what I meant. You know, that's how he could have handled it. And instead what he did is just like correction, which is like a boner. Like the guy is probably a boner. Don't get me wrong. But like to say that it's like, oh man, it affected Miguel Rojas. Like,
I mean, you don't think if a highly respected journalist, somebody that people trust, tweeted out some false information about you, and all of a sudden your phone was blowing up and then they never reached out to you to be like, yo, my bad. You don't think that's unacceptable?
I have said, like, don't say this, like, say the sorry. He should have said the sorry. That's where he's wrong. But like everything else that happened there is like that literally, like that happens all the time. And doing this thing where it's like, if you fuck up and then you come back and do the correction, and like, sorry, that's not enough. You got to sue this guy for fucking defamation.
I'm not saying anyone should sue him.
Well, you were giving examples. So I'm just saying, like if like this is like, we can't have that and expect to have like accurate stuff. The important thing to these people, it is an entire industry, is first. The information is not it. It's just first, right? That's where arson judge comes from. That's why you know who Sham Charania is. That's why you knew who Adrian Wojnarowski was. And all these different guys that are connected in all these different leagues. Ken Rosenthal or whoever else you want to give. You know, because they are first. This guy gets some information. He wants to get it out first. He is an idiot. Gives you the wrong information, takes it down, gives you the correct information. In between there or during, he should have said sorry. I'll agree with that all day. But like, to be like, this is a thing that is inexcusable or can't happen. It's like, yeah, it can. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, all right, I get what you're saying there. I guess my thing is, I don't like blaming the system. These guys are being paid very well to work within what the system is, and they should be
well. Is he getting paid very well? He's a baseball reporter for The Athletic.
I would bet that he is getting paid better than we are.
Oh, well,
that's podcast.
If that's the fucking bar, Jesus Christ.
No, but like to me, it's kind of like, I remember when the pitch clock first came out, and you had pitchers who started complaining before it even rolled out. They were like, "You're gonna have guys blowing out their arms, and you're gonna have this and that because they're rushing us, and blah 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 blah." Same kind of deal where it's like, oh, everybody wants the pitches right away. And these guys talked a big game, but I guarantee you, if you went out there and started walking everybody and you were like, well, I can't throw strikes because of the pitch clock, you'd be out of the fucking league. Nobody would sit there and be like, you're right, that's not fair. The pitch clock made you do that.
Yeah, but this isn't a thing. Is this a specific thing with this reporter that this happens all the time? Or did he fuck up this one time? And so it's like a really big noticeable thing.
It's a pretty egregious fuck up.
I
don't like you giving him bail immediately. I don't like that.
I'm not trying to bail the guy. I think he's probably a douche. I don't like him. I like.
See, I didn't even say he's a douche. I don't know anything about him personally. I'm just saying he fucked
up.
God,
we do know things about him personally. If you're waiting 2 days to apologize to another man when you drag his name, are you kidding me? Yeah, he's a douche nozzle. Of course he is. We do have that public information about him. Yeah, but like what he did, I'm not going to behave like it's some sort of egregious thing, unforgivable thing that should get him fired from the Athletic.
I didn't say any of that. All I'm saying is, was this a big deal? And you're like, it's a societal problem. It has nothing to do with this guy. This is on you for wanting your information sooner.
It is.
You blame the viewer.
What do you want? What do you want to happen to him? I'm like seriously asking, what do you want to happen to him?
I want you to be like, it's his fault and not society's and not the fans. It's 100% his fault.
I think it's a mix of everything.
Oh my God.
Sorry, buddy.
Right.
It's his fault. The thing that is the most his fault is not apologizing.
We agree on that.
Yeah, we're there. We found it.
Fair. You know what? Once every 10 episodes, we'll scream at each other for 30 seconds, and it really it keeps me going.
I know. It gives us like 50 more episodes. Like that. It's a good thing. Oh man. Oh, I have a question that I would like to talk about. Okay. All right. So this year we have this situation. It seems like we have this every year. It seems like this is a question we could ask before every season, and we may just do that, especially if there's a season next year. But we know we're going to have a season this year, and what is happening this year is what happens a lot of years because of the pitch clock. Everybody's arm got hurt. But we have a lot of aces that are in a trepidatious sort of injury situation. And it got me thinking about which of these guys do you think produces the most for their team? And I'm going to try to give you all of the information that I have on these things. And it's interesting because some were hurt before and some are kind of hurt now. And some are maybe going to be. It's a weird list. Okay, so Garrett Cole, we know he's returning from Tommy John surgery. He made his spring debut today. Looked good in one inning. Late April is what they're hoping for at the earliest. So maybe May you get him back. Zach Wheeler of the Phillies. This is one that's probably puckering up your butthole right now. Returning from thoracic outlet syndrome, which is not good. If you don't know what that is, not good. Expected to make his spring debut this week. Full return. He might be back, in April himself. Hunter Green is one that got hurt seemingly this offseason. He's having bone chips removed from his elbow. That sounds not great. He's out at least a few months. It's going to be a while for old Hunter Green. Maybe July, something like that. Corbin Burns, another guy that had Tommy John surgery, expected back around the All-Star break. Justin Steele, who may not be an ace, but he's the Cubs ace, God damn it. He's recovering from a UCL surgery, May, June, kind of in his return. And then to throw this one in here, because this is kind of an example of a guy, maybe a warning sign for some of the guys I just named. Sandy Alcantara, who came back last year from Tommy John surgery and was one of, if not the worst pitcher in the league for the first half of the season. He was fucking terrible. Nothing like himself at all. And then the last handful of starts, you started to see that guy that you were really used to, that ace level sort of pitcher at the end of the season. So it'd be interesting to think, to see what you think about what his season's going to look like now, a full year removed for Tommy John surgery. Any thoughts on any of those guys? There's one I really want your thoughts on.
Well, I mean, I have thoughts on all of them. Let's start. We'll work our way backwards, and I think I have all your names here. You close with Alcantara. Alcantara is really interesting because the way you phrase the question is which of these players is going to give the most to his team. I think Alcantara could be a difference maker this year, but I do not believe it'll be for the Marlins.
Well, that's good.
Um, so it's kind of a trick answer. A, because he's not coming off of an injury per se, but B, because I don't think he'll be a Marlin at the end of the season, and I think he will be dealing for someone. I think he's going to be a highly coveted trade chip at the deadline this year. Uh, Justin Steele, I don't really know what to expect out of him. I actually like that they are pushing him back to May, June. I understand that he's on a different timeline than Cole, but I kind of like the idea of bringing these guys back a little bit slower, especially if you play in a cold climate. I don't like the idea of rushing these guys back from, and I know it's been over a year for Cole, so it's not exactly rushing him back, but like, I don't know. I would build him up. I would rather have 20 starts out of Garrett Cole starting in late May than 25 starts starting in late April. Give the weather another month to warm up. I don't know if that has any correlation or not, but like I feel a little bit more comfortable with the Cubs timeline for getting Justin Steele back than I do with Cole. I can't point to Wheeler as much as I would like to because thoracic outlet syndrome, there are two versions of it. There are two variations. And apparently Wheeler's is the less serious of the two.
He's got the good one.
He's got the good one. But that being said, it's still scary. And it's less predictable maybe than recovery from a Tommy John or anything like that. So I can't go with him. Hunter Green just got injured recently. So, he's going to be back, I believe, late July. And the Reds aren't good enough to be like, oh yeah, he'll really help them out down the stretch run. I know we've been bullish on the Reds, and I want them to be. I think they can be good, but it's not like, let's put it this way. If a Dodgers starter was due back at the end of July, I would be like, that's the perfect time to come in. You'll be geared up by September. You'll be ready to go for the playoffs. With the Reds, it's like, what playoffs? It's not guaranteed by any stretch. And then the last one you said is the most intriguing one to me, and that is Corbin Burns, who's due back around the All-Star break. He is what I think Green could be, in that I think the Diamondbacks are better than the Reds. I think the Diamondbacks are a better bet for the playoffs, and I think Corbin Burns, getting him around the trade deadline, coming back, could be, like making a trade for a really good pitcher without having to give up anything. The only thing that gives me pause is a lot of times, and Alcantara is a good example, these guys come back and they really, really struggle for the first little bit, trying to get the feel for their stuff, trying to locate the strike zone, maybe more importantly. So after all that, I'm going to go with the safest possible answer. I'm going to say Garrett Cole, because I think he has a couple months to kind of like work the cobwebs out. The Yankees are going to probably be in the playoff hunt regardless, and I think he could be rounding into form just as, we're rolling into August, September, and he could be, dealing for the Yankees down the stretch. So,
yeah.
Sorry for the stock answer after that. I built a big fucking ramp there to just be like, that's the obvious one.
No, I thought you hit on an interesting thing about like how they're handling these guys, where it's like, I was seeing some of these timelines, and like you, I was like, why the fuck are we trying to do like mid-April for Garrett Cole? Like, way too important a guy. And I'm kind of wondering if, and I don't know like what their schedule is, but like, I kind of wonder if they're trying to get him on the mound for those kind of cold weather games where like the offense is worse than pitching for a while.
Maybe
so that like he can like, ramp up where it's like, while he's ramping, we still have a chance to win because the offenses that he's facing aren't that good. And then he's going to like be great by the time the summer comes around. Like that doesn't seem like like a reasonable thing for them to do. You mentioned the Cubs and what they're doing. There was a report that Justin Steele was like ahead of schedule and is now throwing like earlier than they ever thought he would be. But I kind of would like them to still take that timeline. Like, look, this is why you have all that depth that you built up. I'm not sure how they'll, if they'll win in the playoffs in a short series, but I am sure that they're going to be very good in a 162 game season because they're so deep everywhere, specifically with the starting staff. That's already starting to get tested because Jameson Taillon may not be a major league pitcher anymore. And so they're going to have to like figure out some stuff here, but they still have the depth to withstand that and get Justin Steele to where you're like, I am sure this guy is good to go 5-6 innings with no issues, no problem. We feel good about his command. We want him to have a good time while he's out there on the mound. Of all these,
go ahead. No, I was just going to say regarding Justin Steele specifically and the idea of rushing him back. I'm looking at it right now. His career high in WAR is 3.2, which means across an entire season, he was worth 3.2 more wins than a replacement level pitcher. Okay, so if you break that down, that's roughly half a win a month, right? If you give him an extra 2 months to kind of recover, you cost yourself at his peak, you cost yourself 1 win. Could you miss the playoffs by 1 win? Absolutely. On the flip side of that, you probably get a Justin Steele that, because these guys come back from Tommy John and they're on innings limits, they're on pitch limits, they're being monitored. You probably get a Justin Steele that is healthier and stronger come September and October than you would have had you brought him back earlier. So I don't think they should be rushing him back. Continue. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm going to go a different direction from you, though. Okay? The guy that I'm going to take, and it's because, look, he's on the mound right now, and I don't know much about these arm injuries, and I don't know what they happen, but he's been better than all of these players for years. He's had weird, scary injuries before. I'm going to take Zach Wheeler. I understand that it's a scary thing, but it's like he's had sort of like arm or like scary, like, shoulder, or like right at the end of the season, or like there's like some sort of thing. And he's always come back and he's been just like elite. And so like Sandy Alcantara's year last year kind of put the fear of Tommy John God into me with like guys like Gary Cole. Like I know he looked really good in 1 inning, but I'm like, it might just take a while. It might just take a while. And with Zach Wheeler, I have like more faith that he's pitched more recently and didn't have his arm carved up, that he's just going to be able to come out and do what he has always done, which is go 7 innings, give up 1 run, and strike out 9 people.
I mean, obviously, I like that answer, and I understand. You know, a lot of times it's the fear of the unknown, but in this case, with Tommy John, it's kind of like the fear of the known. Like, we know where this goes. Elite pitchers come back, and they need some time. Ohtani underwent Tommy John for the first time in 2018. He was supposed to be back for 2020, you know, whatever the fuck that season was, and they put him on the mound twice. And I think he walked like 7 guys in 1 2/3 innings, and he was throwing 93. And they were like, why are we putting this guy out there in front of no fans to just die? Like, this is crazy. Let's get him out of there, which was one of the few smart things the Angels ever did. And then he came back in 2021, and he was outstanding. Alcantara last year, in the first half, his ERA was like 7.5. The second half, it was like 3.30. You kind of know what you're getting a little bit with that. Wheeler's injury is a complete unknown. I have no idea what to expect from him. But Wheeler himself is one of the more consistent performers across baseball. If he can get back to 80% of what he was, I will be thrilled with that, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see some. I mean, you know, by next week, we could be like, oh my God, they put a radar gun on Zach Wheeler and he's only hitting 92 or some shit like that. And then we could all be like, well, Jeff's an idiot again. And clearly he is a curse because he has already destroyed the Cincinnati Reds, which I apologize to any Reds fans that are out there that I picked your team to have success. And then immediately your ace got hurt. My bad.
You said Nick Lodolo was a Cy Young level guy, so it shouldn't be a
He
problem.
better be.
Well, speaking of your ability to judge talent or lack thereof, you were texting me earlier this week. You had your fantasy draft coming up. And I wanted to ask you about this before we get out of here this week because I am staunchly anti fantasy. I enjoyed fantasy baseball one time in my life. I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and my dad and I had a league where you had to pay a nickel per transaction, and we had like a bucket where we kept all the money through a season. So if you wanted to drop a player, add a player, you had to pay a nickel. And it added up, and we kept track of all the stats in a little notebook using the box scores in the newspaper. Here's how old I am, and I have not enjoyed fantasy since. I have zero interest. Every few years I try to get into it, and I just don't have the attention span for it. But that doesn't mean I don't love the fantasy draft. It's the only part of fantasy that I ever enjoyed, and I was excited when you told me you had a draft coming up. I would love, if you don't mind, the opportunity to evaluate your team.
So to be clear, this is only I have two main leagues that I play in. Okay. And just to defend this nerdery very quickly. You know, you mentioned this very sweet story about how you and your father played fantasy baseball, and why would you enjoy the game if you did something that cool with your, like, the game would seem stupid to you. And now it seems stupid that I'm playing it after hearing that story. So I don't like that. But the reason I do it is I'm very much how you are with when you go to baseball games. I don't just go into all of these drafts. Are the two drafts that I have are auction drafts. This one was on a computer, so it only took 3 hours. The other one is going to be like I'm on a Zoom with other people, and you have to bid yourself. That's going to take like 7 hours.
That's fun.
The prep that I put into these things is like, I know all the relevant stats from last year for all the players that I think are draftable. I know what their projections are. I use 2 different projection systems. I know how hard they hit the ball. I know the max of how hard they hit the ball. I do all those stats for all these players. So I have like hundreds of mini little scouting reports for every single, and then like I have a dollar value for everybody. And then I go into my fantasy draft. And I'm very good at this.
Okay. I believe you.
And so you're going to hear this team, and you have to keep in mind that it's an auction draft, but it's also a keeper league. When I get to a keeper, okay, I will tell you it's a keeper, and you can keep for a long time, and you'll understand that when I read off my team. Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
Here we go. Catcher 1 is New York Yankees Ben Rice. Ben Rice, that is a keeper. He cost me $2. It was a great keeper. Ben Rice is going to hit the shit out of the ball this year. Catcher 2 is William Contreras of the Milwaukee Brewers. I bought him in the auction. First baseman is Vinny Pasquantino. He was a keeper. Second baseman is Bryce Terang of the Milwaukee Brewers. He was a keeper. The shortstop.
I feel like I should be writing this down. I thought we were going to go player by player.
Okay, we can go player by player if you want.
Okay, I'll keep every evaluation just off the top of my head in under 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay, great. So my two catchers. Here we go. My two catchers, Ben Rice and William Contreras. How do you like my catchers?
I thought Ben Rice was a first baseman.
Well, he played enough catcher last year that he qualifies as a catcher, which means he was a extremely valuable keep for me because I can use him at catcher, which is typically not a very great offensive position.
I understand that. Is he expected to play catcher going forward, or is he a first baseman going forward?
He is, I think he's going to mostly play first base, but I mostly just kept him for this year. Like, I don't give a shit what happens in the future. I'm trying to win a championship, Pat. I'm trying to go back to back.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I would think that using a keeper spot on a guy that you don't care what happens to after this year seems a little bit strange, but
if he still catches, I'll keep him. And if he's good enough to be kept as a first baseman, I'll keep him. But I can keep 10 players, so it is what it is.
I like Wilson Contreras.
The other keepers, you're going to understand.
I like Wilson Contreras. Not sold on Not sold on Ben Rice entirely, but love the ballpark, and he's young, so let's get it. I like it.
All right, I'm just going to give you the whole infield, all of it. Okay, ready? Here you go. Vinny Pasquantino at first, Bryce Terang at second, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Austin Riley from the Braves at third, Dansby Swanson from the Cubs as my middle infielder, and the corner infielder is actually Wilson Contreras, who, as you know, will be playing first base for the Boston Red Sox this season.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. The only one, no, I mean, I can't even. I feel like Pasquantino is probably by fantasy standards below average for first base. But Terang is probably a top 5 second baseman. Bobby Witt is the premier shortstop in the game. Austin Riley is probably a top 5 third baseman. Swanson, Contreras, both. Yeah, it's a solid ass infield.
Okay, and now we're going to go to the outfield. I'll give you the whole thing. Here it is. Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena, Jacob Marcy of the Marlins, Ramon Laureano from the San Diego Padres, and Wally Abreu, hero of Team Venezuela, is the fifth outfield.
Very top heavy. Started really strong and kind of fell off a cliff there after a second.
I agree.
Julio is a stud, obviously. Arozarena's ceiling is so high. But the rest of them, I know Abreu just had the big home run, and he's solid. But I definitely think the infield is better than the outfield. Anytime you have anybody from the Marlins, I can't approve of that.
Hey, he was on Team Italy. What do you want me to do?
He's not even the best bad Marlins outfielder. That would be Stowers.
Kyle Stowers.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. But I needed stolen bases, and Marcy steals bases. Anyway, now we're going to get to my pitchers, and this is where I did a lot of my keeping, and you'll understand why. Here's my rotation.
I like how you're trying to psychologically bully me into telling you your team's great by being like, here's the thing I did, and you'll get it. You'll understand it. You'll love it. It's great.
I can actually say that about my pitching staff, okay? Let me just give you the pitching staff. Okay. Here are the three guys that I kept in the starting rotation. Garrett Crochet. I know.
You did this the last podcast. You had like 3 names that over the course of 400 episodes or so, you pronounced wrong on purpose just to fuck with me.
That's right. We did it again.
Drove me nuts.
Crochet. We're a crochet podcast. Remember that. Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. Brian Wu of the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah,
those are the 3 starters I kept.
Mm-hmm.
I added to that Tyler Glasnow.
Yep.
From the Dodgers, Ryan Weathers from the Yankees, Kodai Senga from the Mets, and then a couple other guys. And then
whoa, don't tell me only the good guys. Who are the other couple guys?
The other couple guys are, I took a shot on Dustin May because apparently his stuff is back this string. He's probably trash. He's probably trash. Probably going to cut him, but he's there. And then Braxton Ashcraft from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who I think is going to be very good.
All right.
You'll know who he is soon. You'll know who he is soon. Don't worry.
You don't even need me here for this segment.
I don't. This is like masturbatory. Totally. Here's the closers I kept. Edwin Diaz, Cade Smith. Can't get any better than that. I've got the guy from the Dodgers, Cade Smith, the closer for the Guardians. Now that what's his name is in jail or whatever the fuck. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this team.
Yeah, you should. I mean, that top 3 in the starting pitching is absolutely insane.
I know, like even if like a couple of them get hurt, I'm like, I still have an ace.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, those are 3 of the top 15 pitchers in the league.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, Crochet and Brown are both probably top 10. And Wu is probably right on the periphery of that. Glasnow, of course, can never stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he's outstanding. Yeah, man, I really like your squad.
Feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. I won it last year. I've won it every other year since I've been in it.
Yeah. Well, I think you could do it again. All that time spent doesn't this
beard say like all he's done is tried to win a fantasy baseball league for 2 weeks?
I hope not, because I feel like we kind of have the same beard. I don't want people thinking that when they look at me.
Sorry, bro.
God damn it.
Sorry, bro.
All right, well, that was this week's episode. By the time you hear from us next, baseball will have been played. Of course, we record this on Wednesday night, so we will be recording as the first baseball game of the season is going down, so we still won't have a ton to talk about, but we will, I'm sure there will be some stories coming up in the last week of spring training here. And then after that, thank God, we just get into the habit of pumping out episodes about actual baseball that counts and matters.
Next week is going to be 5 topics, and it's going to be why all of these prospects needed to work on bunting before they could get called up to the majors. So why aren't we seeing Connor Griffin on the opening day roster? Got to work on bunting. That's what's got to happen.
You know, I think you're being sarcastic, but bunting is an important part of the game. I think you need to learn to respect it.
You would want to bring up.
More on bunting next week. Until then, I'm Pat Barker. That's Jeff Sewing. We are the Baseball Buddies, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.